Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. The show is about to begin.
Truth, lies, shenanigans. 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 It's the TLS show, coming to you live from the TLS show. It's the TLS show, coming to you live from the TLS show.
Hey, welcome to Truth, Lies, Shenanigans, your live streaming podcast where your favorite host brings the most interesting topics of the week to discuss, and we'll ask the question, is this truth, lies, or shenanigans? And of course, we always try to have fun with shenanigans of our own along the way with spirited games, discussions, and amazing guests. My name is Neo Nix, and for today's show, we have two special guests for you. First, our spotlight is on the man who created the shoe that grows into a tree, Mr. Luc Houle. He's going to tell us all about his amazing contribution to save the earth. Then, with the uncertainty caused by the newest COVID variant, Omicron, we asked immunologist Alain Simard to come back for yet another COVID Chronicles to answer your questions about Omicron live. As always, we'll have some quickfire topics and play Shenanigans the Game Show. And this week, it's the Wheel of Truth. Before we get into our show, let me introduce you to our fantastic host for the next hour, the professor, journalist, editor, and sports intern mentor at ESPN out of Washington, D.C., Miss Lizzie Andy.
What's up, everyone? Happy Sunday Fun Day. So glad to be back. Can't say that I missed y'all too much because my Thanksgiving holiday was filled with nothing. I slept, I got some rest, I watched football. It was a beautiful thing. And I think it was what I needed. Because leading up to, the Thanksgiving holiday, very busy. Coming out of the Thanksgiving holiday, very busy. So I appreciated those 4 days off to do nothing. Hopefully you guys had a wonderful time doing whatever you did with your family, friends, loved ones, and you ate lots. I ate lots and I drank lots. So it was good. It was good.
All right, our gamer, tech guru, and bona fide rock star with the rock band Fallen Machine, coming to you from Sudbury, Ontario, Mr. Rob E. Rock.
What's up, everyone? Happy Sunday Fun Day. So for the last weekend, I had a weekend. I just, I took a couple of days to
It wasn't Thanksgiving
and,
for you, huh?
It was just a weekend in Canada. But winter has definitely arrived here. It's chilly. We have snow. Things were a little chilly in the house last week, and we needed to get some service maintenance. But we're all nice, warm, and toasty now. Nothing too serious. And because of that weather change, well, the tree is up. We started decorating and planning celebrations, and it started to feel a little bit like Xmas over here. And I did go up onto the roof one last time. We got these new icicle lights, and they work great on the first level of my house, but at the second story level, the wind picks it up and blows them up onto the rooftop. So I've gone up twice to fling them back down, but I'm not going back up there.
I hate
Too much snow and ice.
My wife keeps asking me to do some lights. I can't do lights because I can't do lights.
Do it in October, man. That's when you do it.
All right. And our college student, actress, and model streaming from Atlanta, Georgia, is Gianni Storm.
Hey, guys. I missed you. I've missed you. Unlike Lizzie, I missed you. But also like Liz, I have taken a break finally and was resting. So I've been chilling. Like yesterday I went to go see Christmas lights at Atlantic Station in Atlanta, and it was kind of cheap, but it was cute. It felt like Christmas. It put me in the spirit. I wasn't able to get a tree yet, but I can't wait to decorate, Rob. That's my favorite part of this holiday. But I'm not saying I like Christmas. I like the season, like the giving, like the feeling, the family, the comfort, hot chocolate.
I like the gifts. I like the gifts. Send me gifts, y'all. Send me gifts.
And me personally, I thought
We're
it was.
doing that.
I
Yeah,
had a great
Secret
time.
Santa.
Yeah, we're gonna do that. Yeah, for next week, not next week's show, 2 weeks from now. Yep.
2 weeks.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which one of y'all is my secret Santa? Who is sending me
What?
I
the
think
No
new,
purpose.
the latest Chanel shoes?
the
Huh?
latest Chanel. Is
Who's
that what you
sending me?
want?
Ooh, that's
Who's
gonna
sending
be
me
a
that?
hard one.
Is
Who's
that
sending me
our
that?
$20 limit? I don't know. Is it $20 Chanel
Yeah, you know,
shoes?
that's going to be tough to do with the cap. That's going to be tough.
If they make $20 Chanel shoes, hey, all yours.
Knock
I can
off
get you some
Chanel.
I can get you some channel shoes for $20.
So very quickly, Rob,
Channel.
so at Sports Illustrated, we have a lot of advertisers. When I worked there, a lot of advertisers for pages, and Chanel was one of our page advertisers in the magazine. Well, we're going
Cool.
through the rundown of the magazine, and so one of the editors was like, okay, and so here's the channel ad. Ah, dagger in my heart.
Horrible.
Channel.
Dagger in my
Horrible.
heart. Hey, come on, bruh. Put some respect on Chanel's name.
All right, we've got a packed show, so let's go ahead and jump right into Quickfire. All right, we've got 3 minutes to discuss, Gianni. Let's go.
Okay. So R&B star Trey Songz is being investigated by Las Vegas police following allegations of sexual assault being made against him. The singer has not been arrested and is cooperating with the investigation. Trey Songz was in Las Vegas for his 37th birthday. But this is not the first time sexual allegations have been placed on Trey Songz. Back in 2020, a woman who claims the singer initiated unwanted sexual contact with her. And many people remember the actor Keke Palmer. During an interview on The Breakfast Club, she had accused Trey Songz of sexual intimidation. So my question to the panel is, this what happens when celebrity and entitlement get unchecked?
Let's start with Robbie.
Well, I mean, at this time they are only allegations, so I don't really want to weigh in too heavily on it. But this is someone who's got a sketchy history, and when you take someone and elevate them to a superstar status, the real world rules kind of stop applying to you when you're hemorrhaging money, when you've got money just coming in, and you're received with open arms in posh spots, and someone is paying your tab, someone is paying because you're promoting this business, and so much with the entourage and the whole industry. It's the real world rules don't apply to these people. So when these kind of things happen, it doesn't really surprise me. I hope for the woman's sake that, this isn't true, that she wasn't violated, assaulted, but it also wouldn't surprise me if it did happen, just given this individual's history. But again, because these are only allegations at this time, don't want to weigh in too heavy.
Yep. Lizzie?
You know what's really bad, and I mentioned this to Gianni yesterday when we talked about or discussed the topics coming into this show. I don't know anything about Trey Songz except for his sexual abuse, sexual assault allegations. Couldn't tell you the name of any of his songs, never listened to his music. This is what he is known
It's
for
not great music, so
to
you're
me.
not missing much.
So that's a problem, bruh. That's a problem. And yeah, like Rob said, these are only allegations at this point. He's never been convicted of anything, charges, allegations, whatever. But everybody can't be lying every year. Your name keeps coming up over and over and over. You need to start changing what you do, how you do it, who you do it to. Because I mean, the average person isn't in this situation where every other year, every 6 months, they're being, accused of
Yeah.
sexually assaulting someone. So get yourself together, bruh. Get it together.
All right. Yeah, let me give you about 20 seconds, real quick.
I also just kind of wanted to make light of the situation to maybe give people like this help, like celebrities or people in positions of power help, because I feel like this sexual thing that they have going on is actually like a disorder. Like it's very strange, like these weird that tells you that I personally believe these women. Some of them I know, of course, there's been exaggerations. That's my personal opinion. But I feel like regardless, these type of men need to get help when we see it in the media immediately, not 7 years down the line when people are
I don't
scarred
know.
for
I'm
life.
good. I'm
I
good with
got some help
if
for
help
them.
is
I got some
jail.
help for
Shit,
them,
for
all
me.
right.
Yeah.
I
I
got
got
some
some help for
help.
them, all right. I got
I
something
don't know
worse
about.
than jail.
I think we
Worse than
pulled the word
jail.
disorder out too much. All right. So Olivia says, when you live a dirty, free life, you invite this type of stuff. He is nasty, just like T.I. and Tiny. Okay.
Oh
Oh my
Lord.
God.
Jasmine
Oh
Robinson.
Lord.
Somehow this doesn't surprise me, but when was the last time he put out some music? Well, I know he hadn't
Good
put out any
question.
good music, so
Oh my
I don't
gosh.
know
Yeah.
anything about his
I'm
music.
sorry.
I know nothing
I'm
about
not
his
feeling
music.
Trey
Nothing.
Songz. All right, let's get our quick fire number 2. Lizzie, you're up.
So
Oh,
aside from Chris Cuomo, the latest news that's been in the headlines all week here in the States has been about gun violence. It's been about the shooting in Oxford, Michigan at Oxford High School. Last Tuesday, a 15-year-old sophomore at Oxford High opened fire on his classmates, killing 4 people, injuring 6 others. And it's being alleged because of messages that were on his father's Facebook that the father bought him the gun that this young man used
ridiculous.
to shoot and kill people. And so, subsequent to that, the parents, mother and father, were both charged on Friday with involuntary manslaughter and a host of other charges. And then they went on the run. They were on the lam for a little while until they got, arrested. And now they're in jail. Each of them have been handed down $500 bond. But so now we have a 15-year-old, right, who is being charged with 4 counts of murder, a whole host of other charges as an adult, because initially he was given a gun by his parents. 2 days after that, we hear the story out of Georgia where a 13-year-old is arrested and charged with murder because he accidentally killed his sister using a gun. He was making illegal ghost guns, making guns at 13 in his house, and then trafficking them, selling them, and using one of those guns to shoot at someone who was robbing him. He accidentally killed his sister. So my question to the panel is, we have 2 situations where parents should have known what was going on. In the incident in Michigan, the parents gave the kid the gun. In the incident in Georgia, they didn't give him the gun, but how do you not know your kid is making guns in your house and selling them out of your house?
Selling them.
So again, parental responsibility. What say you? What say you,
Sorry, Rob.
panel?
Well, it's the one in Michigan, yeah, for sure. I mean, it's the parents provided the weapon, and even in situations where the parents didn't purchase the weapon specifically for the child, I think that it's a real problem. Just there. You've heard me say the gun proliferation in the U.S. is out of control. It's absolutely ridiculous, and this is just it demonstrates it clearly once again, and it's terrifying. I'm glad that that was never a part of my psyche. It's not part of the Canadian psyche growing up that you're going to go to school and possibly get shot. And this story out of with the 13-year-old and the ghost guns, that's absolutely heartbreaking because my mind immediately jumped to the social construct in that environment. Where is this kid living? How is this kid living where, as a 13-year-old, I was wrapping up playing with action figures. I was kind of winding down my Lego stage. I was still playing with cartoons. I wasn't building and running guns. What the fuck?
All right,
For
Gianni.
a 13-year-old kid, that is terrifying that
Gianni,
is your reality.
I'm going to give you about 20, 30 seconds, and then Lizzie, I'll give you about 20, 30 seconds.
I think You were talking about parental responsibility. I think that just listening to the cases and reading the cases, I feel that the parents, especially in the Michigan case, should be charged. It just makes me question in general when parents, what are parents like looking for? Like, I remember hearing one of the officers or that was involved with the Michigan case saying that we need to like start charging the parents more in these cases. Like, I think they even brought up the one with Kyle Rittenhouse and how his parents should at least be charged. But I don't necessarily. I think it's a situational thing. I think that it is an interesting question, but I think it's a situational thing. If the parent does have some responsibility in the criminal act of that child, then yes, the parent should be charged.
Right, Lizzie?
Situation.
I think it should go beyond situational just to kind of right the wrongs here. Because right now, nothing is being done. Like, you, again, with the 13-year-old, this child was in your house making guns, running guns.
Yeah, it's crazy.
How do you not know? How do you not know? Where's your responsibility? Where is your guidance of this child? In Michigan, again, they gave him the gun. Mama even laughed and was like, don't get caught. Like, what is that? So I think, at this point now, we need to start thinking about changing these laws and holding adults in the situation accountable for
Totally
what their
agree.
kids
But what
do,
about the
especially.
parents that can't handle their
Sorry,
there's so
Gianni.
many kids that are at
Let me
trouble,
get
like at youth.
yeah. Let me get to these comments online. We're out of time, unfortunately. Jacqueline Robinson said this. We can talk about this more in the after show if
Mhm.
we go over. Um, let's see. Jose says, I didn't even know ghost guns were a thing. This makes me so sad. Jacqueline Robinson, there should be laws to prevent shitty people. I don't know why the word didn't come out of my mouth. To prevent shitty people from procreating. I'm still trying to wrap my head around the fact that Michigan parents basically abandoned their child to take the rap while they went
Oh,
on
they
the
were
run.
like deuces. They were like
Yeah.
deuces.
What?
Horrible, horrible,
Yes.
horrible.
Olivia says, how do they get the weapons in school? Why is school not properly secured? That's concerning. Uh,
I mean, not every school, unfortunately, not
Why
every
did he get to
school
go back to
has,
class?
metal detectors. That's the question. Why did they allow him to go back to class? And again, we could talk about this in the after show, the totality of what happened, but the school
Yeah.
also bears some responsibility in this, in
right.
my opinion.
Truth, lies, or shenanigans?
Oh, bullshit.
Mm.
I got each week. I keep forgetting to do my damn bullshit, but this is
And these
shenanigans. This is shenanigans.
parents,
With respect to
parents
the
got
people
shenanigans
that
going on.
victims, but the parents are the shenanigans in this. They're the joke. But
And
Parents
what do
and
we
the
think
school.
about? And what do we think about Trey Songz? Truth, lies, or shenanigans?
and he's
I mean,
lying.
again,
Shenanigans,
we have to start
lies,
rethinking how we're going to do these because some of these
shenanigans.
topics are not being represented well. In our
Because
response.
you want to
True.
say bullshit, right?
I want to say, fuck you, Trey Songz. That's what I want to say.
Trey Songz, yeah. He's a waste of vinyl if they made vinyl.
Oh,
Yo, he's disrespecting his artistry.
All right, so today's sponsor for Quickfire was Jess Super Tonics, immune support, digestive health, energy, hydration, detoxification, and more amazing health benefits await you and your family. Shop JessSupertonics.com. It's JESS Supertonics.com. Okay, it's time for our guest spotlight. Today's
Hey,
how's it
spotlight,
going,
we've
guys?
got shoe designer Luc Houle joining us. Luc is the creator of Johnny Shoes, the shoe that grows into a tree. Welcome, Luc. How are you?
Thank you. Nice to meet everybody.
Very
hey,
good, very
Luke.
good.
Thank
All right,
you.
so before we get into this amazing idea you have, Can you tell us just a little bit more about you, where you come from, and how you got into shoe design? And then I want to know one thing that people can't Google about.
Okay, cool. Absolutely. So Rob and I are actually from the same place. We're both from Sudbury, and I grew up in a sleepy town called the Valley. It was an amazing place to grow up. I absolutely love it, and I
Wow.
didn't realize how much I missed it until I went up there after about 2 years because the pandemic was preventing us from traveling. And I totally appreciated just the quiet, the calm, and then getting to see all my friends again for the first time in a couple of years, right?
Aw,
Because now
yeah.
I live in Toronto. It's been about 12 years, and that's actually where I learned how to design footwear. Was out here
Nice.
because
Cool.
they don't teach that in Sudbury, unfortunately.
I'm not surprised. Very small town, right? Robbie talks about it all
Oh,
the time, how small his town is.
yeah.
It's a great spot though. I absolutely loved it. I made amazing connections, and it really set me up for success for what I'm doing now. Because I still remember even like the local McDonald's where I had my first job. They were like, "Hey, service with a smile." Everything had those small
Nice.
town values. It was phenomenal.
Wow. All right, and one thing that we can't Google about you.
Okay, one thing that you can't Google about me, and it's actually interesting because earlier we were talking about my name and
Yeah.
how when you look at it, it's a
Yeah.
little strange. You might have trouble, figuring out how to pronounce it. Um, so it's French, but it's actually just Luc Houle. Now, the one thing that you probably can't Google about me is when I was younger, I used to do telephone surveys for a company called Cape Connect.
Mm.
And I would call people and I'd be like, hey, my name is Luc Houle. I'm calling from Arch Entertainment. And I got hung up on so much because people thought I was prank calling with the name Lou
Luke.
Cool.
I could see that. I would be like, this is a scam.
When you said it earlier in pre-show, I thought you had said Luke Cool. I was like,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
I like that. But no,
Yeah,
yeah.
the Lou L-O-O cool, people just didn't believe that. And I was
Yeah.
like, but that's not what I said.
But it's true.
Okay, so let's talk about these Johnny shoes, the world's first fully biodegradable shoe that grows into a tree once planted underground. Absolutely amazing. So, how does it work exactly?
So the idea came to me after working in the fashion industry for about 7 years. And I used to do sales. And in sales, we were killing it. I was crushing like 100,000 pairs a year. We're going out everywhere, and we were stoked, right? But eventually, I got into the development side of things, and that's when I started realizing that the majority of shoes are actually made of plastic, and they're hidden in something called the midsole, which is the part right above the outsole where it contacts the ground. And the problem with plastic is that it biodegrades in 1,000 years, which is insane. That's way too long, and it's actually really harmful for the planet. So once I realized that, I was like, yo, I got to work towards changing this. And with a lot of research, took about 3 years to get this all done. But I'm really proud to say that we developed a compound that feels just like your average sneaker, super comfortable, but it biodegrades in 3 years instead of your typical 1,000.
Wow.
Nice.
And then,
Wow.
once that I'd come to that conclusion, I'm like, people are going to think it's going to biodegrade on your feet. That's not
Yeah,
good.
I'm gonna be honest. I am gonna be absolutely honest with you. That was the first thing I thought. I was like, how long are these shoes gonna last?
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And the thing is, they don't biodegrade on your feet. Don't worry, it's not going to happen. They need to be underground with a mixture of moisture and just the great outdoors to get the compound going.
Oh.
And once that,
Huh.
I realized I had to get that message out there. I'm like, well, then if you got to plant them underground anyway, why not just put a tree seed inside of them so they can grow into a tree after you're done?
Now that was a great
Brilliant.
idea.
Yeah, that was amazing.
And it's actually an
Wow.
apple tree, right?
Yes, yeah. So, I was going over what kind of seed I want to put in there, and one thing that kept hitting me, I was like, man, I've always loved the story of Johnny Appleseed, which is actually
Right.
John Chapman, and he went all around the northern U.S. and Canada planting apple trees everywhere. And I was like, man, if
Yeah.
enough people buy my shoes, I'll be just like Johnny Appleseed. We'll be planting apple trees everywhere. That's awesome. So
I
I
love
wanted to do a
that.
nod to him. That's why I called. Actually, if you check the logo, that's his signature that I just grabbed and then turned it into
Okay.
Johnny at the end.
Oh, cool. Inspired of
Oh.
Johnny
I love that. Love that.
I love that.
So, so not only do the shoes give you the ability to
Brilliant.
plant the shoe, but the company Johnny, will also plant a tree for every shoe sold. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah, we're in this together. Number
What?
one, like I appreciate that you're willing to go out of your way, buy a product that's actually more beneficial for the environment. And so we had to do our part too and say, we realize that not everybody has access to a backyard. I live in Toronto. We got skyscrapers everywhere, and like we just don't have the space to plant our shoes. But it's still okay. Like you can still throw them away. They'll biodegrade in a landfill, but we still want to offset your carbon footprint and create more oxygen. So we'll plant a
Yeah.
tree for every pair sold.
All right.
Love that.
Robbie, did you have a question?
That's Luke. Thank you for blowing my mind. This is such a
Yeah.
wonderful, wonderful thing. Now, I'm very curious. At what point in your development did you decide, as a person, that you were going green?
It's where I'm fortunate is that I have the experience with shoe design, development, sales, marketing. But like personally, I've always tried to do what I can to reduce, reuse, recycle. But the more that you hear about it, is that it's really important for industries to change their practices even more so than users. So even though it's great that we're doing this, I really want to push the industry towards something better. And luckily, Johnny kind of sits at the intersection of those two passions. So I was able to kind of launch it out of that.
Oh. Lizzie.
So, first question for you: have you heard of the artist, musician Erica Badu?
Yeah, absolutely.
So Erica Badu has a song off of her first album called Apple Tree.
Yep.
So that might be a good connection for you when you start your marketing for
So,
this product.
Collab.
so
It
Lizzie,
would,
you got the connect
yeah.
form, you got the connect, you got her on
I
speed
mean, I
dial,
don't
right?
really mess with Erica like that, but we could put the word out, to help Look out and try to get a collaboration because it was a very popular song, and I think it
Mhm.
would be catchy for like a jingle, to help grow the business, to get the word out there about this Johnny shoe. My second question was
Yeah.
going to be how you came up with the name, so you just answered that. But going back to actually planting the shoe, how long does it take for the apple tree to grow? Once it's
Great.
planted in the ground, how long does that process take?
So the outsole itself will be biodegraded within about a year and a half, so 18 months.
Okay. Okay.
And we expect that at that point, the tree seed is going to start emerging, and it's going to be coated in a fertilizer coating that'll kind of help give it a little kickstart. So we're hoping that you're going to see a tree start germinating within about 2 years or so. 2 years
Wow.
up to 3 years, but it all depends, right? I mean, number one, it depends which environment you planted it in, where you live. Like, there's a lot of variables, so it's kind of hard to say. But the other thing too, and I do want to mention this, is that in nature, not all seeds germinate, and that's just something that we can't avoid. We can't
Yeah.
help it.
Yeah. Of course.
But let's
Of
say that you
course.
plant your shoes and it doesn't grow into a tree. Just send me an email on the website, and then I'll send you a generous batch of seeds so that you can at least plant them in the
Oh,
ground and
that's
get your apple tree
awesome.
at the end
Okay.
anyway.
That's
So last
great.
quick question. Last quick question because my mom is from the South. We make a lot of fried apples here. What kind of apples? Are
That's
there a
another good
specific
question.
kind of apples?
Oh.
That is an awesome question, and I'm really happy that you mentioned it. When I plan this, I just costed apple seeds at wherever the price goes for, right?
Okay.
But I actually had an apple farmer who contacted me over the Kickstarter, and he was like, "Hey, man, I want you to know I think what you're doing is great. I bought, quite a few pairs, but I think it's really
Nice.
important that you plant a variety of apple seeds because
Okay.
if you send out too many of the same, you're going to end up ruining ecosystems with that same apple tree. So my
Oh.
suggestion is to
Wow.
vary the
Interesting.
apple seeds in every shoe, and then that way you end up with a good variety everywhere. So we talked about it for a
Ooh.
while, and I
Very
was like, "Hey,
cool.
man, would you want to help me out in educating the public on how to better take care of the apple tree once it grows?" So he and I are going to work on that and give everybody instructions on how to help out and stuff. So it's I'm just so fortunate that so many people want to be a part of this community and want to help. Like, I'm legitimately like just so grateful.
Huh.
Gianni
Nice,
Storm.
nice.
I have a couple of questions. First, are the shoes only for adults? And then also, when can we get the shoes? And then also, are you hoping that the Johnny shoe inspires other people, like other maybe shoe brands or other people to collaborate with you for like the environment in general?
Yeah, absolutely. Great questions. Okay, so I'll try to tackle them in order.
Okay.
First off, they're only for adults right now. And the reason is I launched with a Kickstarter. So we're all pre ordering for August 2022. And with that Kickstarter, the problem is that it's really hard to anticipate if your child's size is going to change and how much it's going to change between now and then.
Of course.
So I just went with adults
Yeah.
to make it super easy. But in the future, I really want to offer this to kids too, because I think this would be awesome as like a tool to, like work with your kids, be like, hey, we should be environmentally friendly. And that takes
Yeah.
time, And so like growing a tree over 3 years is definitely a cool way to do that with your children, right? Um,
Yes.
so the way to get them right now, though, because the Kickstarter is closed, is to go to our website instead. And you can still pre-order them for August 2022 deliveries. It's just johnnyfootwear.com. And sorry, you had a third question, but it's escaping me right now.
Gianni.
It was, do you hope that the Johnny shoe will inspire other people to do maybe the same thing that you're doing or more environmentally friendly action?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a lot of companies that are actually doing really good things too. And so, a lot of companies are recycling footwear, which I think is awesome. Um, there's a lot of initiatives, but I think the market is trailing given that we have the ability to produce biodegradable shoes, right?
Mhm.
And so I think we just need to have a firmer push. And hopefully with Johnny, it shows that, there is a large, passionate portion of the populace that does want this, and it'll
Yeah.
inspire other companies to push harder.
Every time
Yeah.
you say Johnny, I hear Gianni.
Yeah, I wonder if Gianni's like,
I
oh,
know.
he's talking to me. Named his shoe after me. What?
There's a ton of comments online. Let me get to those for you. So, Karen Thompson says, "Catchy name." Jose said Jose. Jose said, I need a pair." So clever, Johnny Appleseed. Uh,
I
Daria
know.
Daria
That
Winter
is
says,
clever.
"Ideas for entrepreneurship owe much to the isolation during the pandemic. When did you come up with the idea? Uh, and time? Oh, yeah. So when did you come up with the idea? Was it part of the pandemic?
I was actually before, and I
Before.
was gonna launch around I think March 2022 was my original, or sorry, March 2020 was my original timeline. But unfortunately,
Ooh,
because of the
Mm.
pandemic, so the pandemic
shutdown
closed everything
time.
down.
Yep.
And
Yes.
the two factories I was going to work with, one of them got repossessed to do PPE by the Chinese
Mm,
government, and the other one just said, "Hey, I'm only working with major brands right now because everything's too crazy." So
Wow.
that actually slowed me down by almost a year, where I had to like find new ethical factories that pay fair wages and all that good stuff, because everybody was kind of in a state of panic, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm really proud that we're here now. So that's all that really
Yes.
matters at the end of the day.
All right.
Yeah.
And Jacqueline Robinson says, "We noticed that the Earth, particularly the ocean, self-corrected during the height of the pandemic last year. The waters were so clean that we could actually see the fish, particularly in regions where the cruise ships. I love your idea." Um, and you got a big heart from Daria Winter as well. So,
Aw.
Aw,
Oh,
now,
thank you so
hey
much.
Mhm.
Daria.
unfortunately, this is all the time we have for you. Were there any last thoughts that you wanted to share or any shout outs? Robbie, you want to say something?
One quick question for Luke. What is your price point for these shoes?
Yes, good
Oh
question.
yeah.
That's a good
Good question.
Good
question.
question.
Um, so we're selling them for 135 Canadian or 108 USD, with free
Nice.
shipping
Good.
included anywhere in North America.
Good.
Good.
Nice.
Luke,
And
I
like,
was going to tell you, go high or go home. Go high. People pay for shoes. They have no problem paying. high prices for shoes. So, and I'm a
Exactly.
shoe girl. I
Especially
have over
sustainable
200
shoes.
pair of shoes, and I pay
Especially
a lot
sustainable.
of money. So for something like this, it's worth charging. So yes, good
Mhm.
for you.
Yep.
Good for
So,
you.
any last thoughts?
Worth
Any
it.
shout outs
Appreciate
that you
that.
want to, Luke?
I just want to tell everybody, like, number one, thank you for paying attention to this cause. I really appreciate it. And if there's one like takeaway that I could leave with you is you can vote with your wallet. So do a lot of research into companies
Ooh,
that
I
have
like
the same
that.
values as you, and just try to support them because people will pay attention at the end of the day as long as those companies that you're supporting that have those same values are doing well.
Look, that's a slogan. You
Amazing.
can vote with your wallet. I like that. I like
Yes.
that.
All right. Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
Luke, for joining us. We do appreciate you. We'll have to have you back to see how
Thank you.
things go.
Thank you.
And we
Yes.
wish you the
Yes.
best.
Absolutely. Thanks
Thank you
for
so
having
much.
me. Really appreciate
Pleasure.
it, guys.
Thank you, Liz.
Thank you, Luke. He's
I'm
amazing.
getting
I
a
gotta
pair.
send
I
him.
love that.
I gotta send him a copy or a link to Erica Badu's song. We gotta make that work, man. We gotta make that
You
work.
too.
Gotta
Just-
make that work.
I'm sure you get your Rolodex out. I don't know if anybody knows what a Rolodex is anymore. Get your Rolodex out.
Yeah, what is that?
I know you. I know you
What
got
is that?
these days.
Oh, Johnny.
That was a
No.
joke, Gianni, right? That was a joke, right? That was a joke, right?
He said Rolodex.
She doesn't
said
know.
Yeah.
She
Rolodex.
literally doesn't know.
I don't know what
Rolodex.
that is.
It's
So
all
it's
it's
index
I gotta
cards
do it.
that you can roll. You set that on your, so it was a
With telephone
Rolodex.
No,
numbers.
it's not.
Basically
Don't listen to
spinning
what.
index cards.
Oh yeah, I remember seeing. I didn't know that was the name,
That was
but I've
before
seen
we
them
actually had
before.
memory and phones that could keep numbers. for you.
That's so funny.
Bless her little heart. Oh, bless her
Johnny.
heart.
Oh my god.
All right. All right. Let's get to our next guest. Our COVID Chronicles. We have the Omicron variant out there. I'm sorry, it's hard to get serious all of a sudden.
Yeah.
We have the Omicron variant out there, and we are bringing back Dr. Alain Simard. There's plenty of lies and misinformation of coronavirus. So Truth Lies Shenanigans brings you the truth. Stories directly from the people that lived it, frontline workers and survivors. This is the COVID Chronicles.
Whoop, whoop, whoop.
Dr. Alain, how are you?
Hello.
Hi everyone.
And yeah.
Nice to see you again.
All right, many of our viewers may remember Dr. Alain Simard. He's an associate professor of immunology and head of the laboratory of neuroimmunology at the Northern Ontario School of Medicine in Sudbury, Canada. He was on with us last season, episode 22. So check that out. Thanks again for stopping by, Dr. Alain, to share your expertise with us once again. Thank you so
My
much.
pleasure.
All
Thank
right.
you.
All right, so we asked you back because the newest COVID variant, Omicron, has become a huge concern worldwide, and our hosts and a ton of our listeners were asking questions. Now, a week and a half ago, families like mine were in the U.S. getting ready for Thanksgiving, eating turkey, talking family, mostly maskless, right? Thinking we were finally turning the corner on COVID. As long as we're all vaccinated, we should be okay. And then we hear about this new variant. It's suddenly resistant to vaccines, calling it Omicron, and everyone's panicking again, like we may be heading back to lockdowns. So here's my first question. There's been no deaths yet reported for Omicron. That's still only like a couple of weeks out. And the symptoms in general seem to be milder from what we're hearing. But a large number of the infected were fully vaccinated. And it's also spreading 2 times faster than the Delta variant, which was already like 2 times faster than the original. So is this just a faster spreading virus that's much weaker? And is this type of variant actually helpful to help us reach herd immunity without a significant death rate? As COVID had a huge death rate, obviously.
Yeah, those are great questions. I think first off, I have to say that it's pretty early for this new variant, and it's scientifically there's a lot of information that we just don't really have a true answer for, or at least enough data to be able to make sound or strong conclusions. What we know so far for sure, or at least it seems to be the case, is precisely like you said. The virus does seem to spread a lot faster. So it's likely that it's more transmissible, but there's also a few other factors that can play into this, and one of them is immune evasion as well. Right. So depending on how well our bodies are able to defend against this virus, especially if you've been vaccinated or if you've had COVID, you've been infected before. If the virus can evade your immune system, then you can be reinfected again, and it makes it a lot easier for it to spread afterwards. So you have quite a few factors that are involved. It does, the data, again, it's likely that it does spread faster, but there are many other factors that could be in play here, and we have to be careful before we conclude for sure. What we don't know is exactly how fast or how much faster it does transmit from one person to the other. That we don't know yet. In terms of immune evasion, so far, again, with the caveat that we're talking about a short period of time in or at least at first, where we had the bigger outbreak of this variant. It's still, in a way, on the world stage, it's still an isolated, isolated case, I guess you could say, where there could be other factors that might explain why it would have spread incredibly fast, right? And to be honest, we don't really have a good understanding of that. We have to wait a bit longer to see, elsewhere, because we know that this variant is elsewhere in the world. It's pretty much everywhere. How fast is it going to spread there, right? In different situations. For example, some parts of the world have less vaccination rates. Others have higher vaccination rates, right? So we have to be able to compare both before we can conclude whether or how effective our vaccines are against this variant, for example. We'll need to have, one good example would be with the Delta. I remember, and this struck me when the Delta came around in Ontario. We had a situation where we still had a certain number, good number of cases from the original. Then all of a sudden Delta appeared. And then we could calculate the famous R value for both independently. And then at the time, with the public health measures that we had at that time, you could see that the R value was under 1 for the original, but it was around 1.3 for the Delta. And that's when you have same situation, same area, and you could calculate both R values. And that's when you can know, okay, Delta is this much more contagious than the previous
How
one.
long did it take before you could figure that out?
It didn't take that long, right? You have to wait, unfortunately, for a certain number of cases because to creep up, I guess, in that area. Because if you only have 10 of them, you can't really calculate anything from 10 cases. You need to get them much higher than that. But then if you have a situation like if we take in South Africa, for example, right, they barely had any cases anymore in that area with the Delta variant. But all of a sudden you get the Omicron, and it took up it really quickly. So in that area, it can be hard to calculate the difference between the two, right? So that's why we do need a bit more data. That's I'm always afraid of jumping to conclusions. But I will say that so far, it does seem like this variant is going to spread a lot more quickly than the Delta. Is it more or less severe? There's contradictory information on that right now. You hear a lot of anecdotal, some data with limited data, where it does suggest that it's less severe. However, we have to also acknowledge that in a lot of the cases that we've had so far, we're in young adults where COVID is less severe anyways.
Yeah.
A lot of cases were in vaccinated or people, right? So yes, it does seem to be able to infect vaccinated people. That, can't hide from that one. But don't forget that the vaccines, even though they don't work 100% against preventing infection, they are so far have been very effective at preventing against severe symptoms, right? So is that one of the reasons why it appears to be less
milder symptoms?
Yeah. So again, you have to study the unvaccinated people, right? And or those that are at risk. That's when you're going to start trying to see, is it more or less severe?
Before I get to
So
my,
I'm not going to pronounce myself on that one at this point because we don't have enough data.
fair enough. Before I get to my other hosts, there was a question online we had earlier from Robin Johnson. And she asked, with so many variations, we've got more than 50 mutations. Why isn't it considered a full mutated virus? Why is it a variant versus its own virus, like, say, for example, COVID-21? Because usually there's some threshold, I know, where you have a certain number of mutations and it becomes its own virus.
Oh yeah.
Yep. To be honest, I'm not too sure exactly what that threshold is, right? So 50 mutations does sound like a lot, okay? But let's take a step back here. From what I remember, or from what I know, this virus has about 30,000 what we call nucleotides in its genomic sequence, okay? So you get 50 mutations out of 30,000. That's not a whole lot. If we compare SARS-CoV-2 versus the first SARS virus, so SARS-CoV, they only have about 85% similarity, right? So about 15% of their genomic sequence is different, right? So those are much bigger differences, right? So 50 mutations sounds like a lot, but in reality, this you don't have whole genes that are disappearing. You don't have new genes appearing, right? They're all the same, very similar to the original one. It's just that you have these smaller mutations here and there that obviously can have a big impact on how the virus functions, but it's essentially the same one, just wearing a different hat, for example, right? And if we want to look at it that way.
Totally makes sense. All right, Lizzie, you have any questions?
So I do have a question. So how do you think in terms of the response, like what's been the differences in the response to COVID and then the Delta and now Omicron? Like a part of me thinks that this is, and not to say that we shouldn't be making people aware of what's going on with Omicron, but I feel like a lot of people out there are like, okay, see, so now we have another variation of another iteration of COVID. So then what's the point in getting vaccinated? Do you feel there are a lot of people are out there with that type of skepticism?
Oh, definitely. A lot of reasons to explain that. I mean, everybody's tired of COVID, right? We've been talking about it for 2 years.
Yeah, for 2 years,
right?
yeah.
So, and at one point you get desensitized, right? So one of the things, probably one of the problems here, is that we've been campaigning for vaccinations. You need to protect yourselves and protect others around you by getting vaccinated. Then all of a sudden you get these new variants where the vaccines work slightly less, and then people start wondering, well, why? What's the point? Can you blame people from getting discouraged? That no, you can't. But at the same time, we have to, keep sight of what the goal is here, which is to, do what's best to try and protect others, protect the people that we love. And then especially also protect the people that are vulnerable, right? You might, as a young adult, has a healthy immune system, for example, no predisposing conditions. Yeah, if you get COVID, chances are, you'll be sick, but you'll be fine. So taking the vaccine at that point, you might tell yourself, well, it's not really for protecting myself, but you have to remember, well, you might pass it on to multiple other people. And then who knows who's going to get really sick and could potentially die from the vaccine. Yep. So we can't forget that.
Right, Gianni?
And one of the things, Alain, very quickly that I try to remind people is that death isn't the only symptom of COVID. Like there are a lot of people who survive, but who have had horrible outcomes.
Yeah.
And again, we had, a guest on last year, COVID. He had 3 of his fingers amputated. While he was on the ventilator, he had like several strokes. Like it's not just death.
Yep.
You could live.
You're
but
saying,
still,
you're saying mild symptoms aren't necessarily mild.
Exactly. And people need to keep that in mind.
They do, and what we're only starting to understand now is what's called long COVID, right?
Yes.
Some of the examples that you
Yes.
just gave, yeah, they're
Yeah.
pretty extreme and drastic side effects of the symptoms themselves. But some people basically never recover. They'll have psychological effects, for the rest.
Mm.
Well, who knows for how long? And, we can only say for sure for up to 2 years so far, because that's how long we've been in this pandemic, right? But as far as we can tell, they could last for decades. We don't know, and this can affect kids. It can affect anyone, right? And you don't need to have severe symptoms to get this long COVID. You could have very mild symptoms and still have, very significant impacts that, could change your life forever. So can't forget that either.
All right, we're running
I
short on
agree.
time, so let me get Gianni and Rob in here. Gianni, go ahead.
You kind of answered my question in regard to does the vaccine, does that same treatment work on the Omicron variant? But I also wanted to know, does the same precautions stand with people wearing masks and social distancing? Does that still stand for this, or do you think this is more of an aggressive?
Yeah, so likelihood,
Virus.
right, is that it's more aggressive. So that being said, I think that it's even more important now to take the precautions. One of the things that I find has been a tremendous fault in the public health messaging and in the media as well, is that we've known for a long time now. There's been a lot of evidence that it's not only about the social distancing. This virus can also transmit in aerosols, right? And which can stay in the air for a lot longer and can go a lot further than 6 feet. Now, whether the risk is higher or lower, I mean, that's a whole debate. And that to me is irrelevant. The point is that it can transmit, if you're in the same room as someone for a very long period of time, that's infectious. You can be more than 6 feet away, and there's a fairly good likelihood that you're going to be exposed to the virus as well through these aerosols, right?
That reminds me, I was in a I was playing volleyball the other day, and we have a mask mandate, and so we all have to wear masks. But for some reason, one of the guys pulls his mask down, turns around, coughs, and puts his mask back on. And I was like, "Are you kidding me?" I was livid. I was yelling at him across the. I was like, "Jim," I was like, "What are you doing?" It's like nonsense, because those aerosols travel. That can travel.
They do. They travel, and there's plenty of videos to show how far they can travel. And there's scientific evidence. Like, they've detected this virus about 20 feet away, right? And hours later, they've detected it in other rooms of a hospital that were all isolated but shared ventilation. So it can travel, right? So it's something that I do think that we need better messaging on, is to educate everyone on this fact and how to deal with it, right? So if you can be outside, for example, fresh air, open the windows. Those are all tricks that can get some fresh air and keep the virus levels low in the air. Wear better masks. That's another one, right? If you can't avoid it, make sure you wear something that's more like an N95, right? I've stopped wearing my cloth mask, and then for temporarily went to the surgical ones, but those have a poor fit, right?
Yeah,
So
they don't fit well.
They do.
They don't fit well.
Oh my God, Alain, they do.
Yeah.
So
I'm constantly like, okay, there's a gap here, there's a
Big
gap
gap,
there.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
Right. So it's super important to wear the proper PPE. And then here in Canada, I mean, it's winter, right? We're all going to be stuck indoors for how many months now? So
7?
So cases are going to go up. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, actually, our cases in Maryland shot up from 1,500 to 4,500 right after Thanksgiving. Yep, right after.
Are you serious?
4,500.
I'm
I mean,
about to
from
go under.
3,000
I'm about
more
to
than the
go
previous
back
week.
under. Oh my goodness.
So, Robbie, we have like 2 minutes. Robbie, let's
Sure.
ask your question.
And for me, I mean, this is a virus doing what viruses do. It mutates, it propagates, it wants to live, it wants to inhabit as many hosts as possible. So, by virtue of putting off the mandates, the vaccinations, 2 years later, we find ourselves with a variant that is presumed, with limited data, to be to have a higher rate of transmissibility, requires less hospitalization, and it's transmissible twice as fast as the Delta, roughly. Based on your studies in immunology and virology, the virus is doing what it is supposed to be doing, what it naturally does. Now, I know that Neo had referred back to, are we one step closer to herd immunity? I'm going to take it in the other direction. Are we one step closer now to a strain that can propagate faster? And because it can propagate faster, is there a possibility that it would turn into something more nefarious, deadlier to human?
Right. Those are great questions. I think there's a couple of questions in there.
We got like 60 seconds.
Okay. In terms of herd immunity, I think that we're moving in the opposite direction, right? We likely will never reach herd immunity. Okay. In terms of virology, yes, you're right. You're absolutely correct that in terms of evolution of a virus, it's doing exactly what we would expect. And a virus wants to propagate and wants to survive. It's not going to do that if it kills us, however. If it starts killing too many people, right, then it's going to have a much harder time going from one person to the other. So over time, what tends to happen is that actually viruses will become more transmittable, but less deadly, right? Less severe symptoms. Doesn't mean that it always works out that way, right? It can, because mutations are random, right? And then, you could get one that's just going to, do the opposite. But over time, and I'm talking about over decades or sometimes even longer, it tends to go in the opposite direction. Like the common colds that we have are thought to have, like, a long time, thousands of years ago,
people.
But they would have killed a lot of people, but over time they became less deadly. Those are all, theoretical concepts. It's hard to prove because science, we've only been able to measure this for not too long compared to the evolution of man. But I think that's going to go in the opposite. So if everything holds out to be true, more transmittable, less severe disease, in my opinion, in a way, it can be a step in the right direction. It might mean that we'd be heading in that direction, but let's not forget that a lot of people are probably still going to die from this, especially if it's twice as transmittable. So it doesn't reduce the severity or the impact of this pandemic.
We have a ton of questions online. We are really out of time, but we're going to carry you over into the after show, and we're going to ask all of those questions because we have questions like. Why don't people promote more natural ways to strengthen the body, like vitamin C? We have a question about the new pill, the treatment, the oral pill for the treatment. And so we have a bunch of questions that we're going to ask, and we're going to take those to the after show. We're gonna go ahead and finish off this show, and we'll take those into the after show. So, Dr. Alain, stick around, and we will see you then. We thank you so much for joining us for this segment here.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Thank you,
See you
Alain.
And we will see you. We'll see you shortly. Thank you. All right.
Very good. Very informative. Very good. Very good.
Yes.
All right. Let's go ahead and start our game. Let's get it done.
Rocked it.
You got it.
We don't have a lot of time, so we're going to keep this one short. But we are playing the Wheel of Truth. All right, real simple. All you got to do is we'll spin the wheel and we'll all answer the question. And our audience, since you're still around, sticking around, you're going to pick who wins, who gives the most creative answers or most interesting answers. All right, so let's get started. Wheel of Truth. All right, wolf, werewolf, or vampire?
Come on now.
Edward or
Edward. I
choose the
prefer
vampire.
vampires. Yeah, vampires are more interesting. The story.
Vampire.
Werewolf
Interview
smell.
with the vampire. Interview with the
Werewolves
vampire
smell.
made vampire sexy.
I just like the
Interview with
backstory.
Interview with the vampire made vampires sexy.
Sexy.
Vampire.
All right, next. Pink or red? Oh, I love pink because of Posh.
Red.
Oh, that was a good one. That's hard. Red, because red is Passionate.
Red
And
because
Valentine's
that's
I'm
what
with
my
Johnny.
mama. Red because that's what my mama told me my favorite color was. It's
Really?
not my favorite color, but she told me that was my favorite color.
She made sure you didn't.
That is your.
All right. Do you watch anime?
I
Hell
do
no.
not. No.
Of course.
No, my sister
Of
does.
course.
I do not.
I've seen anime. I've watched it in the past.
Dragon
That's
Ball
not-
Z.
So we know
No
Robbie.
anime, no animation. I'm an adult. I don't have children.
No animation.
Liz E.
So who's going on a
I
boat
know.
ride? Who's going fishing? Boat ride or fishing?
I mean, I could fish on a boat ride. So both.
Yeah, I'm with
I
you.
can
Let's
fish
do
on a
both.
boat ride.
I love
have
boats.
fished
I
That's a
love
good
on a
one.
boat ride.
I would go fishing. Yeah, I've never been. That would be
Fishing's
fun.
boring.
Fishing's
Fishing
is always
really
kind of a
is.
boat ride for me. I don't go
Yeah.
for the activity of fishing. I
Yeah.
go for the boat ride. Because
I'm with
who
you.
likes cleaning
Just
fish?
don't go ice
Not this
fishing.
guy.
Don't do ice
Ew.
fishing. Don't do ice fishing.
Oh, ice fishing is fun.
Oh, any thoughts on animals? Okay.
That's
They're
not the
cool.
right question for
Listen.
this group. We all have animals.
Rob said they're cool.
They're cool.
We all
yeah.
have
Cool.
animals.
All right, this will be the last one. All right, have you ever been camping or do you
No.
have a story about camping?
Yes. One of the worst experiences of my life.
Oh, man,
Camping
I
is
love camping.
overrated. I don't like dirt. I don't want to be outside. It was
Me
raining.
either.
I'm in a tent. There was no bathroom. I was on my menstrual cycle. It was
What
Oh,
about like
that-
with a
that'll
log
make-
cabin?
That'll
It
make
was
it
Dang,
horrible.
nah.
It was
That's not
disgusting.
camping. No, see,
And log
I
cabin
grew
is
up a
not
Boy
camping.
Scout.
That's
I
luxury.
grew up a Boy
Johnny, that's
Scout.
luxury, Johnny. No,
Camping is
it was
awesome.
awful.
I love
It was
camping.
awful.
Actually, I will say my last time camping, we hiked up into the mountain. It was a crazy hike, and then it got cold that night. I was freezing. Oh my god,
Oh
Hated
no.
it.
I was,
Hated it.
but I still love it.
Hated it.
Hated it. Liz.
Hated it.
Find your sleeping bag, buddy. Find your sleeping bag, buddy.
Yeah, I didn't get the right sleeping bag for sure. All right,
I kept saying, "Where is the shower? Where is the bathroom?"
shower.
And everyone looked at me like I was crazy. Like, okay, I'm never doing this again in life, ever.
Oh,
Ever.
Lizzie, I'm a man. The world is my urinal. I'm
Awful.
fine.
Awful. No, yeah,
All right.
Horrible.
yeah.
all
I
right.
don't have a penis. I can't just whip it out. You know, I need
I love that
extra
she
help.
uses that word.
All right, so we're gonna let our audience pick who do you think had the most interesting answers, and that is it for the game show. Put it in the chat, and whoever had the most interesting topics gets the final thought for the show. Our game today was brought to you by Amore by AP. It's the holiday season, so go spoil yourself at Amore by AP online store. You get fast delivery and a variety of modern styles for the variety of beautiful women out there. Visit www.amorebyap.com. All right, so let's get in our shout out. Real quick, I just want to answer Karen Thompson's question. She says, Neo, where is the after show again? It's going to be in our TLSfans.com Facebook group. Just go there right after the show, TLSfans.com, or just find the Facebook group. All right, shout outs, Gianni Storm.
It's the season of giving. The Truth Lies Shenanigans podcast is giving small businesses and brands the chance to advertise during our live show. So we're now accepting product reviews and slots for our ad banner. If you're interested, please look out for the link on our Facebook page this week for more details on how you can participate.
All right, Robbie.
My shout out is to our Sudbury native guest that joined us today. Although I guess he's a Sudbury resident now. It's just great that two people from my city were represented. But my shout out really is to the people like Luke that are up there. If you have a dream or an idea, you never know where it could lead. Work at it, and really, at the end of the day, we all have the ability to make the world a slightly better place.
All right, Lizzie.
Love that.
Shout out to the Washington football team and DC football fans. So we won 3 in a row. We're currently playing the Las Vegas Raiders in Vegas, and a whole bunch of my friends decided to go to Vegas for this game today. Like, what?
Wow.
What? So
You
we're
should have
currently
went,
up
Liz.
7. Hell no. I ain't getting on no plane for the Washington football team during a pandemic? No way. But we're up 7-0 right now. So hopefully we'll be 4 in a row. We'll be 4 in a row. Whoop, whoop.
All right, my shout out goes to Olivia E's puppy. Charcoal was sick this weekend, but sounds like he is doing better. And our
Very good.
And our final
I love
shout out
Charcoal.
goes to our Pet Shenanigans winner of the week. This week, the shout out goes to Carol Gascon. Did I say that right, Robbie? Gascon?
Carol Gascon.
That's a really good
Carol Gascon.
exercise.
With her cats playing on a giant hamster wheel.
That is a
See-
giant.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah,
Carol
one of
does a
those.
lot of wonderful work in the community in helping home cats. So she
Wow, that
is absolutely
is
kitted, and she
huge.
loves to share this
I
kind of
think
stuff.
that's a third. Is that a third cat up top?
Yeah,
Yeah,
up
there's a bunch of
there.
cats,
It is
yeah.
lit.
Yeah.
There's
Right,
a
to see
third
all
cat
of
on
the
top.
pets.
There's another one in the pen.
All of the pets vote, all the pets, or post your favorite pet photo or video. Make sure you join TLS, excuse me, TLS Pet Shenanigans Facebook group at my, excuse me, at mypetshenanigans.com. The photo with the most likes and comments gets a TLS shout out each and every week. And
That
that
cat is
is
tasty.
officially all
Right.
the time we have for today's show.
I love it.
I'd like to thank all of you guys for joining us. We hope that maybe learned something, gained a new perspective, even got some things off your chest. We'll be back on December 12th with another amazing guest and more deep discussions. Don't forget the audio version of the podcast is available every Monday evening after 6 p.m. on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to podcasts. Also, the conversation is not ending here. We are going to keep the cameras rolling in our after show exclusively on TLSfans.com Facebook group. We'll definitely be discussing more about Omicron. Looks like our winner for the final thought of the day goes to Miss Lizzie Enders.
Of course,
Lizzie,
of course.
close us out.
You don't have Neo cheating.
Not of course.
The proper winner wins. The proper winner wins. Hey, you guys, I just want to, piggyback off of our conversation with Dr. Alain in terms of Omicron. Be safe. We are not out of the woods with this pandemic. Please continue to take all the precautions, wear your mask, get vaccinated, and just be safe. Be cognizant of the people around you and do what's good for everybody, not just you, for everybody.
Everybody.
All right. Thank you, Lizzie, for that message. Lizzie, Gianni, Robbie, and our people behind the scenes, always working hard to bring an awesome show. Nesmi, Jose, Olivia E. Most importantly, thank you for watching and listening to our shenanigans each week, and we will see you next time.